Star Trek, the next generation. You love throughout the nation. You're my favourite show. Was in every episode you're lucky. You don't have to wait for buses. You just step into the transporter and off you boldly go. Mr. Wall's my favourite person.
We are the Org. Our mission is to assimilate Star Trek The Next Generation, Star Trek Deep Space Nine, and beer. Lots of beer.
Hello, friends!
Hello.
Welcome to bOrgCast 1.2. Yes, we're travelling back to the first season of Next Generation to fill in the gaps. But before that, nudes! And very good news indeed, the new Trek series will be showing on Netflix in these parts. Yay! So we shall definitely be getting to see it. Whoopee! So expect some reviews of those when they come up, I guess. So looking forward to that.
Yeah.
A few parish notices. Editorial control is being wrested away from me.
It is mutiny! Deliberate, vindictive, insane at its base! But mutiny is charged, and encouragement of mutiny.
Because my original plan to redo the two we did as the pilot, on the basis we didn't really do them justice, not even justice, despite justice being rubbish, is being overturned. Because somebody is refusing to watch them again.
Yeah.
And then somebody else who I tried to press gang into it, hello Mr. Andy, said no. Why are we doing this? So I'm opening it up to you, the listeners. Let us know either via Twitter or by the Geek Planet Online forum in the bOrgCast session. I may even be organised enough to put a poll up if I can work out how the hell to do that. And you need to let me know whether you want us to do in-depth coverage of Justice and Heart of Glory, or whether...
No, they're shit. You don't want to watch them again. It's in the pilot. We've covered it already on the cast. It doesn't need to happen. He's an idiot.
Or whether that. So...
I'm not watching them again.
No. I mean, if needs be, I'll do it with the kids.
But I don't see why our listeners should have to watch them again.
Well, this is why I'm throwing the ball into their court and seeing what they say. There we are. We
have covered them
vaguely
on
a democracy.
The cast. We've covered them on the cast.
Just don't try and get me to change the numbering scheme. Anyway, in other local news, our Enterprise rewatch is going rather well.
Yeah.
They're really enjoying Season 3. I can indeed recommend it. Some splendid stories. One in particular, which is as good as any story from any other series, to be honest. Very good stuff.
And as is usually the case, the last couple we watched, there's always some we don't agree on. And I didn't like that one and you did. And then the next one that followed it, you didn't really like it and I really did. But so one of us is being engaged by each episode, basically.
So if you gave up with Enterprise, the lesson is well worth starting in Season 3, because it's good stuff.
Yeah.
Something else I gave another chance, for the first time since I saw it at the cinema, Star Trek 09, a.k.a. Not Trek, because it happened to be on telly, and I'm due, thanks to Space Dock Jury Service, literally.
Space Dock Jury Service, I like it.
to be watching Star Trek next week, so yeah, that's the best thing about that film so far, is the title. So yes, I thought I'd better refresh my mind and revisit it in case actually I was mistaken. No, Star Trek 09, still crummy, still doesn't feel like Trek, still got very annoying bits and pieces in it, but anyway, I won't start that right now. It's not even
a ship of exploration, is it?
No, they actually say at one point we're a diplomacy and defence is how Pike, isn't it, I presume. Can't remember. Yeah, I think it's Pike, isn't it? Describes it as that. It's like,
don't tell him your name, Pike.
Yeah. What about the exploration bit? Where did that go to? But except then they undo it slightly by finishing at the end with Leonard Nimoy going, "These are the voyages," which that wasn't what they said earlier, and there's no evidence of exploration being part of it. But anyway, I said I wouldn't get started on that, so let's move on to far better. Oh, hang on.
Yeah.
It's It's the Last Outpost.
Next time on Star Trek The Next Generation.
Captain, our power systems are failing.
A crippling force field sends the crew to a desolate planet where they encounter dangerous alien predators.
Kill them.
But a greater power threatens them both.
You are accused of deceit and treachery.
On the next exciting episode of Star Trek The Next Generation.
Take it away, Beansy.
Right. The Ferengi have stolen some shit. They have a ship that looks like a lampshade from the back.
Oh, you don't like it?
From the back, no.
Yeah.
When it turns around, it's different. From the back, no.
It's based on a horseshoe crab, apparently. On the outline of it. I think it's quite groovy. I mean, yeah, I suppose the rear isn't the best, but then that's true of most ships. Yeah, I quite like it.
Fine. There are power surges, and then it seems that they are firing on the Enterprise. But then something is dragging the Enterprise forward, and all their power systems are failing, and the Ferengi have them right where they want them. Sorry.
Yeah,
We're partway through Deep Space Nine. We know what the Ferengi are like.
That's the downside, of course, is we know that they aren't a threat at all. But, you know, when you first saw this, up to this point, they may have seemed like one. Famously, Roddenberry didn't want to be reliant on the Klingons or the Romulans as bad guys. Wanted to,
well, I can understand
break the past.
that.
Fair enough. And so the Ferengi were originally conceived as the new big bad race of piratical capitalists. Yes, indeed. Sadly, the combination of costume design, the Captain Caveman look, and bad direction, basically the director told the actors to behave like monkeys, because that's always a good plan for a threatening villain, rather scuppered them being the big bad for this series. So there we go.
Come back after the teaser, and they can't handle engineering, so Geordi is sent off. Foretaste of things to come, because he's sent where he belongs.
Yeah, he does, in these two stories, he does quite a bit of engineering stuff, actually, yeah.
And then Data's saying that loads of information about Ferengi is conflicting, so he's asked to reveal what is not conflicting, that they are traders, Yankee traders, buyer beware. You get a reference to Uncle Sam, and Worf is like Uncle Who, and actually it's that far into the future they should all be going Uncle Who, but never mind. And then apparently flags are a thing of the past, except the Federation has a flag, I don't get it.
Yes, national flags are a thing of the past, but clearly flags for major bodies such as the United Federation of Planets is still a thing.
Right. Okay.
So that's your first continuity blip. There are a few in this one, aren't there?
Yeah. Flags are a thing of the past.
Yeah.
Then they're going to do this. Riker apparently is an engineer, which, no he isn't.
Well, he gets sent down to engineering.
Yeah, but he comes up with an engineering type idea.
Yes, but that's the weird thing. It's like, they send Geordi down, they still hear nothing. So then he sends Riker down. It's like, you're going to send the whole bridge crew down? No. What if there's something wrong with the turbo lift and people are just falling, plummeting to the bottom of the ship? You're just going to have nobody left, Picard. This is not a good plan. And yeah, you guess you're right that Riker doesn't show any particular engineering.
No. Because he comes up with his plan and it doesn't fit with the rest, so...
But a thing that isn't a ding, interestingly, is Troy says she senses nothing from the Ferengi.
Later on she says something, I've got that later on.
She does sense some deception later on. But at the start, it's like, oh, whoa, no, I thought that was out of continuity. Ah, it is later on.
Yes.
Never mind.
And apparently they're going to come back fighting, and then Geordi says,
I see where you're going. We ship down, then kick hard into warp 9. Yeah, come back, fight. Woo-wee!
Can we do it, Geordi?
Ask me after it's done, sir.
Yes, that's a terrible line of dialogue, which, unsurprisingly, LeVar Burton can't deliver with any great deal of enthusiasm or realism.
So they're going to do this thing where they try and blast to warp 9, but it fails. Picard says shit. Well, he says merde, but
for some reason the Universal Translator doesn't translate it for us.
Yeah, but maybe
it's a tea-time audience, that's why.
No, I wouldn't be surprised if it automatically doesn't translate swear words, because a lot of interpreters don't translate swear words.
Oh, right.
So if it's been programmed by interpreters originally, you're not going to get the cuss words translated.
Ah. Well, there you are. That's a thought. Not necessarily ding.
No, someone's reading all the information in the memory banks, and so they go to the conference room, and Troy's like, look, fired on us because we were chasing them. They just responded to the chase. They haven't done anything else actually threatening.
She's quite well used in this story, actually.
Yeah, she
a lot
is.
of the first season stories, they don't know what to do with her, but in this one,
it makes sense.
Yeah.
She's not the only voice of reason, but she and Picard are the voice of reason, and she's doing her role, isn't she? And yeah.
Can I get anal about observation rooms?
What the fuck?
Just a little
Well,
thing.
because you've done Ready Rooms on Space Doctor, you're moving on to... Is there a fucking fish in it that I have to sort of... No,
there really isn't much. This will not be a running theme, don't worry. But it's very noticeable in this story that they've got perspex for the windows in the observation room. So you see reflection, A, of studio lights, which isn't very clever, and B, of Patrick Stewart as he comes up to the window to look out of it. And what they do is they actually realise that they didn't really need them in there. They were just causing loads of reflection distraction, so they took the perspex out. So in future, it's just the star background you can see through the holes.
Right.
Don't worry, I'm not going to do a jingle for it or anything.
Good. So then Picard decides he's going to offer them terms, and then as things get worse, he's going to have to basically surrender. But then you get a voiceover, and it's the Daemon, and he thinks that the Enterprise has asked for their surrender, and says it's going to be a dishonour.
Yeah, the whole idea was that the front of the ship actually moves out. They don't really show it moving though, so it's not very effective, but the neck does look a bit longer. The reason why they never use this effect, this is their way of surrendering, apparently. It's a very bizarre and a hugely expensive way of surrendering. They never use this effect again, because when they engaged the motors to do that, it broke a load of the internal lighting.
Oh dear.
Yes.
Whoopsie.
Did you recognise Damon Tar? And
No.
all that makeup?
No.
Played by a chap called Mike Gomez, who plays another Ferengi in Rascals, Lurin. But he's also in The Big Lebowski.
Is he?
Yes. Plays the cop that's investigating the case of the dude's missing car.
Hey, man, are you going to find these guys? Or, you got any promising leads or...
Leads? Yeah, sure. I'll just check with the boys down at the crime lab. They got 4 more detectives working on the case. They got us working in shifts. Leads.
And he says that if they surrendered, it would be a dishonour. Then they say they can't use visual communication because it's against their custom. Ding! Then they say that they have to offer their lives of the second officers.
I don't know. That doesn't really come up ever again, so I don't think that's an issue.
It's a ding because they never offer anybody's lives for anything ever. They just don't. They offer money and goods. or bribery or blackmail or something. It just doesn't happen again. It doesn't fit. Then there are some children in the observation now, and Riker goes, "You know this area is off limits." And he's like, "Put some fucking security there, then, you twat."
Because, this is the same level as the bridge. What the hell are they doing up there?
I know. We've got bloody thumbprint access to shit. This is the 24th century. For fuck's sake. And it's all very well saying, we all trust all the adults because we live in the hippie universe of lovely. But they're kids, they don't know any better yet, so put some fucking security there, you dipshits.
We do get to see the rare use of the holographic display projector in the observation room. It's used once or twice again in the future, but not very often. I think
not often, no.
It's quite an expensive effect, I think.
Okay. So you've got Data explaining that this planet is part of an extinct civilization called the Takon, and they had the ability to move planets and to use them as force fields or outposts. While he's saying this, he's got his fingers stuck in a Chinese finger puzzle.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then Yar says she's got info from the probe, which they send directly. She's like, I think you're going to want to see this. And it's just like a planet that goes bzzz. And you're like, yeah, that was worth interrupting the conversation for.
Well, Geordi tells an awful lot from that weird image, doesn't he?
Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, they're going to invite the Ferengi to join them because it's like diplomacy and shit. So fair enough. But when they're talking, the Ferengi hear Yankee traders. Now that's not a ding. That continues Ferengi hearing.
Yes.
That will stay. Troy senses he's hiding something because they can't read Ferengi.
No, she doesn't say she senses. I can't remember the exact.
She just says he's.
I get the impression he's hiding, something like that. So she could be doing that from body language. That's not necessarily.
Yeah, but she's never met the species before, so it's got to be empathy.
Not necessarily. But I mean, the bottom line is, well, what do you do? The Ferengi are being deceptive. I mean, they already know they're Yankee traders. Surely they should expect that. Yeah. So it's a case of Troy pointing out the obvious again.
Yeah, but she does say he's hiding something, and it's at the very least inferred, if not explicit. She sensed it. She can't. So it's still a ding. The team's beamed down. How do they do that through a force field?
What force field?
The force field of the planet. There's a force field there. How are they beaming through
I'm not sure it's a force field as such. I think it's just some sort of energy drain thing. So
yeah, matter and energy in a transporter. You just end up...
Well, not necessarily a problem.
Well, it is, because what happens is it's all gone a bit wrong, and Geordi's upside down, and Riker's initially on his own.
And it's NAF Planet set of the week, unfortunately.
Oh, it's terrible.
It wouldn't look out of place in the original series.
No. The Ferengi are there with their hollow whips.
Which we never see again, interestingly, until Deep Space Nine. Before you start to worry too much about that, it's only Quark's Marauder Mo action figure that's got one. Although apparently they do show up earlier in Enterprise, in an episode that featured the Ferengi and clearly shouldn't have done.
Yeah.
But there we are.
Yeah.
They do, unfortunately, these whips look rather too much like the giant rubber dildo from the Saints Row games.
They do.
They expect to start hitting the Enterprise crew over the head with them.
Yeah. I used to have a whip.
Did you?
Yeah.
Right. Don't think I want to know any more than that, thank you.
So now you've got the power drain on the Enterprise is affecting the environmental control, so they're dishing out a load of blankets. Where are they getting the blankets from? Replicators use energy.
Presumably they've got a stock of blankets somewhere just for that sort of emergency that's likely to happen. So
you think so?
Yeah, so that's not a problem.
Okay. Then the Ferengi steal Worf's badge, and apparently they know it's gold by licking it.
Yes, and of course, who's this Ferengi Letek played by?
Come on, tell me who are you? 'Cause I really wanna know.
Oh, that's Armin Shimmerman.
Yes, who reported that Ferengi actors were directed to jump up and down like crazed gerbils.
Really? Crazed gerbils?
That's his words. Yeah, that worked well then.
Yeah.
He goes on to appear later on in the first season as the gift box in Haven. He's just like a face on a box.
Okay.
And Braktor in peak performance in the second series, by which time the Ferengi have calmed down a bit, thankfully.
Yeah.
Before, of course, getting the role of Quark. The other chap, there's three of them. The one I couldn't find anything interesting about, Mordok. But Carry On, played by Tracy Walter.
Carry On Ferengi.
Carry On Ferengi, yeah. Who is another one that reappears in Rascals. And his greatest role was undoubtedly Bob the Goon in the 1989 Batman film. As in, Bob, you are my number one guy.
Right. Okay. Then there's some crazy fighting.
Yeah, Worf calls them pygmy cretins.
Right. Sounds like bloody Boris Johnson.
Yes, that's the sort of thing he'd come up with, yes.
Yar intervenes with her phaser.
A dustbuster phaser, yes.
Yeah.
In the early days.
Yeah. And then, they make comments about females, because, yeah. But it fits with continuity. And then something is taking their energy, including from the whips. And then you get Armin Shimmerman going, "What is this?" whilst holding what blatantly looks like a massive...
erect dildo, yes.
Yeah. Then there's a face and a voice appearing from the energy clouds, and a guardian, in inverted commas, appears, and my brain automatically goes to a Mortal Kombat place.
All right, my brain went to a sort of bit of a nightmare place. Who meets the challenge,
Oh, okay.
Expect Riker to have to wear a helmet and loads of bad CG to be put on the screen.
Yeah.
This is Portal, played by Daryl Henriquez, who played Ambassador Nanklus, the Romulan ambassador in Star Trek VI. Although he wasn't wearing all that weird old man makeup.
Very strange.
Why did they bother with that?
I don't know.
Why didn't they just employ an old guy? That would have been a lot more logical. Perhaps he wouldn't have been up for all the waving of the poleaxe thing, I suppose, you could argue.
I don't know.
But all it means is you get that sort of substandard old man makeup that you get at this stage in the series.
At least he doesn't go around going... Yes. There's a discussion about... It's like he doesn't believe that his civilization's dead. So then Data says, "I'm afraid not," which is using a contraction.
Well spotted, yes. He uses a couple apparently in this episode, but me being Mr. Unobservant of that sort of thing, I didn't notice, but well done, that's one of them, yes.
And then he sort of says this is answer the challenge, and he says, "What is?" And you and I both went, "Your favourite colour."
What is your favourite colour? Because he's standing on a bridge at that
I
moment
know,
as well.
I know.
So
It's just, yeah.
Blue, no green. Ah!
I would not have a problem with that.
No, indeed not.
And then he references Sun Tzu. Have I pronounced that right?
Sun Tzu.
I don't know. Sensei Ping.
Not Sensei Ping, no. His wisdom isn't quite so historic and sought after through the ages.
But Payne's River... Sorry. Anyway, all power is restored because the Guardian Portal Man likes the Chinese mystics. It's like, I like your civilization, like from goodness knows how many centuries ago.
Yeah, but the point is that Morika's proving that they've learnt from that history as well, so that's still a live thing for them. So that's fair enough, that's quite good.
Oh, okay.
It would be a lot better, of course, if the Ferengi weren't jumping around like crazed baboons behind them, but anyway.
And as power is restored, you get Beverly going, "Not a moment too soon, Jean." Ding!
Yes, who the heck's Jean?
His name is Jean-Luc in the same way as mine is Anne-Marie. You call me Anne, I don't answer, it's only half of my name.
So there you go. There's a lesson for you folk.
Yeah. I mean, at school, teachers would often call me Anne, and I used to have to call them by half their name. I had one particular teacher who was terrible for it, so his name was Mr. McIntyre, so I used to call him Mr. Mac, which then responded with, "My name is Mr. McIntyre," at which point I said, "My name is Anne-Marie." I know it's got a dash in there, but in French, if a name is hyphenated, you say both parts.
Oh, no, in English as well. It's like Sarah Jane. You still call them Sarah Jane, even... You wouldn't call them Sarah, so, yeah.
Yeah. But
it's rude,
it's
is
rude.
what it is.
Yes. And it's not even affectionate. It's not like you call me Anne. That's the wrong name.
I have never called you Anne.
No, it doesn't work. So the idea that maybe she's being affectionate...
Admittedly, I very rarely call you Anne-Marie, but that's by the by.
Yeah. But it doesn't even work as a romantic concept, as she's calling him half of his name.
It's just blooming odd. And of course, she never does it again.
No,
so yeah, spot on with the ding, yeah.
Yes. And then, bizarrely, it ends with this concept of beaming the Ferengi over a box of Chinese finger puppets.
Well, you know where that's coming from, don't you? It's Trouble with Tribbles, where they beam over all the Tribbles.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like, you really, really don't want to be inviting comparison with some of the best of the original series. That's very stupid. So, and this not long after their Naked Now take as well. It's very silly. So
did Sensei Ping, or whatever his name was that I never catch, invent Chinese finger puzzles as well?
I don't think so, no. I think the kids were just playing with those in the observation room. That's how they got left there.
Oh, okay. Yeah, now, I'm terrible at Chinese names, and I apologise for anybody who's Chinese or even knows Chinese is listening. I can't remember the guy's name, but when I watched the BBC programme on China, they talked about some of the older Chinese mystics, and an awful lot of what they said was really deep, and would be good if some of our arsewipes of politicians could do with reading it now. I mean, a lot of it is... There were times when it wasn't, but there were also times historically in Chinese history when it was a really open, peaceful, tolerant society, and they had some really deep people in their culture, and I'm assuming that's...
Well, so we could do with rather more Confucius and rather less confusion, really.
Yeah.
But there we go.
Yes,
I'm sorry, I couldn't avoid that pun.
Except Confucius was sexist, but there you go.
But what?
Confucianism, or hardline Confucianism, is part of restricting the role of women.
Oh, right, I did not know that. There you are.
Well, I did because of that programme. But anyway, I can't remember what I thought of it first time round. I do know I saw this after I'd seen Deep Space Nine. I never had the whole thing that...
These Ferengi are rubbish then.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? I never had the experience.
Rather you had, they're getting the Ferengi wrong.
Yes, that's what because I hadn't caught this first time round.
I think it's the best way to approach it, to be honest. I would like this story a lot more if there was some way of doing a special edition where they digitally removed the jumping around Ferengi and replaced them with Ferengi that behave more like the Ferengi we know and love, basically. Because the concept's great. It's just it's literally the director shot them in the foot from the first time they appeared just by telling them to muck around like that. Yeah,
but would they be really an awful lot more threatening if they were inhaling beetle snuff?
Well, not if they're inhaling beetle snuff, no. But if they're acting more like pirates, and more threatening as a result.
More like Liquidator Brunt.
Yes, basically, yes. More of him much later on, I think. But yes. I mean, you can have threatening Ferengi. We will meet some.
Yeah.
But they're clearly not threatening in the same way as the Klingons or Borg are.
No, in a different way, but
they can be threatening, yes. But not when they're leaping around like that. Oh, dear.
No.
But, I mean, up to... That accepted, actually, I kind of feel like this story's the best effort so far of the first season. It's not too bad, and I quite like the portal guy and the way that Riker solves the issue, and the stuff with the face-off with the two ships to begin with before you actually see the Ferengi on the planet's quite good as well. Basically, it does go to pot once they go down on planet play school, and yeah.
But when the Ferengi ship turns round, I like what it looks from that view.
Yes, front-wise, it's an excellent model as well. Interesting, you can see there's a couple of shots looking up from looking up at the bottom.
Yeah,
and you can see there's a obvious shape there that was designed to be like the captain's yacht on the Enterprise. Yeah. So that would, and it was actually detachable on the model as well.
Wow.
So they were sort of building in features like that, and there was also a landing ramp as well for doing boarding raids. So there's lots of interesting features they built in, which sadly they never used.
Yeah.
The only thing they did use, as I say, was the crazy surrender neck thing that broke all the lights.
Yeah, weird.
Oh. So I quite enjoyed it, but clearly you didn't.
No.
What a surprise. But on the upside, there was no Wesley in it.
No, that's good.
Okay. Let's see what everybody else thought. We've heard from the Mark, The Last Outpost, or You Lack the Balls to Make Them Scary. Ignoring for the second time since the premiere, Picard offers an unconditional surrender in the first 20 minutes. Now, obviously designed to replace the Klingons as a clear and present danger, there'd been that ominous line from Picard in the first episode when Zorn threatens the station might ally with the Ferengi. Fine, let's hope they find you as tasty as their last associates. Oh, we didn't know what that meant, but the Ferengi sounded evil and dangerous. What we get are mildly malevolent Munchkin middlemen. I've seen more dastardly hobbits.
Munchkin middlemen, I like it.
The dialogue between Riker and the Gatekeeper is far too obtuse to be useful as philosophical discussion. Conclusion, fear is the only enemy. Huh? Meanwhile, the Ferengi managed to sabotage any hope of the ending, working with their hopelessly hokey and distracting gyrating antics in front of the camera. It just looks plain stupid. I found the conclusion quite good, actually, because clearly the Ferengi were displaying quite a bit of fear, whereas Riker clearly doesn't, and he's just willing to face the music if necessary.
And dance.
Not dance, no. So most of Ferengi society was still a capitalist caricature, and a weak one, old one, of that closer to Fagin than mega corporate CEOs the 80s that Trek should have taken to bits. In fact, let's take a look at an effective evil catalyst from a few years down the line from kids' TV David Xanatos from Disney's Gargoyles. He was smart, ruthless, and played every event in such a way that whatever happened he got some kind of win from it. Never took to fight himself, used pawns who could fight and die for him, a great bad guy in real depth. The joke, he played with a massive amount of flair by one Mr. Jonathan Frakes.
Oh, okay.
Yep, Riker plays a better Ferengi than any Ferengi ever. I think Marina Sirtis did some of the voices for that as well, so it was a bit of a reunion for them. Fact is, the guys in the 90s were fans of The Next Generation, hated that the writers lacked the balls to bite the hand that fed them, so made him as a direct reaction and inversion of the Ferengi. Imagine Damon Bock, who hires alien thugs who are 7 feet tall, with the best guns money can buy, and that any Ferengi is played like a mental challenge for Picard, and a hard counter to the morals of the Federation. Well, undoubtedly the Ferengi could have been better than they were in The Next Generation. You won't get the argument about that. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
We've had some interesting feedback from the Argyle Smurf.
Hey, Orgs! Considered full audio feedback on this one, now that Netflix is playing ball again. But I figured you could do without that much negativity. Also, I greatly doubt I could have found enough stuff to say about the episodes to make it worthwhile. So, Last Outpost is that one where they stagger upon Margretha's weapons-based little brother and get told to go away by a man not armed with either sperm whale or petunias, whilst fighting off attack by the BDSM Ferengi who managed to get their whips to stand up by the end.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not great, is it?
Well, certainly the Ferengi are. Doreen? Hi, The Last Outpost. The Indiana Jones music for Geordi's sort of heroic turnaround to "Oh yes, we can do this" was interesting. Yeah. Deanna did well thinking of the huge planet beside them and the Ferengi for the source of the malicious entity. Very true. She's good in that one. My husband was wondering if the Star Trek on Netflix was the re-digitalised Blu-ray version. Despite this, the big crystal on the planet still looked mighty shonky. Yes, we've just watched the Blu-ray and it don't look great. In actual fact, it looks worse on the Blu-ray because, of course, you can see it a lot more detail and it doesn't stand up to that.
Yeah, no.
I didn't like Worf with his hair in a bob rather than with his ponytail.
Yeah, it doesn't look right. I mean, I guess that's why they change it.
I think I'll stop there, as my mum taught me that if you can't think of anything nice to say, you shouldn't say anything at all. Thank you. Right, that takes us to the MP3 feedback.
Mm-hmm.
Let's hear what Pieman made of this one.
Hello, Orgs. Purry here to talk about The Last Outpost. Season 1 Trek, where once again we get the obscene sight of Riker's chin. I found this mildly interesting. It's not a bad episode. Nice to see the Dakota class. I forgot we got such nice views of the model, actually. They did really make a bit out of seeing this ship, and it's one where it's very interesting to watch, knowing that they were wanting to make the Ferengi the big bads of the series. And up until we beam down to the planet, that's actually working almost. You have the idea of them being profit-driven, but the idea is that they're looking for value in things. When we see the daemon on the screen, when they finally establish sort of the face-to-face communication, I rather like the fact that they put him really close to the camera, so you didn't get an idea of his actual size. He was basically a full head in the screen. You don't know how big these guys are. You know they look strange. There was kind of that bit where, I can't remember, I think Data mutters Yankee Traders, and the guy says, what? And he goes, he heard that. It's like, did you see his ears? Of course he heard it. But that sort of thing was quite good, and the way they spoke, the way they kind of did say, the ugliness of the humans lives up to its reputation and that sort of thing. That I thought was quite interesting, and you could see them actually up until, if you didn't know who the Ferengi were, if this was your first viewing Trek, up until we beam down to the planet, this works quite well. And then down on the planet, they're doing monkey impressions. I kind of like to think that the Ferengi we see there is a relative of Quark's, but I've said that before about other Ferengi that Armin Shimmerman's played. But that's the problem when they're down on the planet. One of them is not Armin Shimmerman, but it's one of the others is literally doing the arms above the head Gibbon walk, and he's doing the funky Gibbon down there, and it's just bizarre. It just suddenly, that whole thing of them jumping about, squawking and saying, they're primitives, they're the ones who are bad, pick him, and it's all of a sudden they become these ridiculous characters, and it's really a shame because up until they got down to the planet it was all kind of working. It's something that cropped up in early TNG and a bit of classic Trek. I like these long-dead civilizations. I like the idea that the universe isn't merely as old as Starfleet, etc. It's one of the things that I think worked really well, and that kind of Trek sadly got away from a bit. It started becoming that, aside from maybe your odd big bad like the Federation, like the Borg, the Federation, Romulans, Klingons, etc., were the biggest fish in the sea, and always had been. This was as good as it got. And I really liked finding remnants of these old civilizations, like we see the Iconians in one episode, and we see obviously the Takon here. Weird thing with it, that wee holo projector in the middle of the desk. I'm guessing that proved too expensive to animate, because that's the first time we've seen that in the briefing room. Also, as an aside, Enterprise security looks as good as always when there's a couple of kids poking at Captain Picard's model ships. That briefing room's behind the bridge. Those were two children who somehow managed to get to a room that has one, well, it might have two doors, but either way, is right behind the bridge. Is there not even a lock in the turbo lift? If you say bridge, it'll just take anyone there. It won't identify you and say, no, actually, you're not someone who's meant to be on the bridge. So, realistically, why aren't kids falling into the warp core, the waste disposal, flying out of shuttle bays at any point? I don't know. Overall, I didn't mind it. It was quite good. It had quite a good tension. I did like the idea of Picard almost surrendering until the Ferengi surrender before him. I thought that was quite a good scene, and the sort of interplay between that sort of worked quite well because they just didn't know what was happening. Although again, I think someone does say, "Have we not considered the planet first?" And everyone goes, it's the Ferengi. They've done it. They've disabled us." And it turns out to be the planet. I'm surprised. Was it Troy? Because if it was, sure you should be dancing around the ridge going, "Told you so, told you so, told you so." But yeah, it's maybe not classic Season 1, but it's definitely one of the better ones of Season 1 I saw. Like I say, I think the end scene on the planet went on far too long, with them mucking about with Ferengi and their energy whips. I think we could have done without that, and basically, was everyone on the ship just sitting in their seats waiting to die? Because that's what it looked like. That kind of bugged me a little as well, but overall I didn't mind watching this one too much. So I will be back shortly to talk about where no one has gone before. Until then, bye for now.
Bye! Yeah, you share our concerns about security, but yeah, I love the way you put it. Why are there not kids falling into the warp core and flying out of shuttle bays?
But mildly interesting, I think, is a fair comment. It's not as bad as And definitely it does go downhill once they hit the planet and you see the Ferengi up close. But there we go. Oh, the Funky Gibbon. Wow. Yeah. Awesome tune.
The Funky Gibbon.
The Funky Gibbon.
We are here to show you how. The Funky Gibbon.
The Funky Gibbon.
Just like you. So come on, do the Funky Gibbon now.
Yeah, it's difficult for me to comment because I had already got to know the Ferengi before I saw this. I didn't catch season 1 of Next Gen, I don't think, until after I'd watched Deep Space Nine's at least first season.
Right, Drew and Tracy. Let's see what they made of this masterpiece.
The Last Outpost, so we just watched that. That was like a season 1 episode, wasn't it?
Yeah, so Mr. Orc wants us to watch these 2 episodes of Next Generation so that we're all like back in line and we've watched it all in sequence.
He's a completist, isn't
right.
he? That's
Why?
the trouble there.
Even I, with my non-nerdo Star Trek brain, know that you never need to watch this shit again. To be fair,
just now we listened to our first ever feedback, which was bOrgCast 5.9 for you bOrgCast fans out there, and I was listening to that, and I remember that time when you had no interest in Star Trek at all.
Yep.
Absolutely none. You probably would have known Picard and Riker, but that's it. You probably wouldn't have known anyone else. And like watching an episode like this makes me understand why you had no interest in Star Trek.
Their hairdos and stuff like that.
Why did you have no interest in Star Trek? Because of stuff like this. Oh God, it's awful, isn't it?
Nora. I mean, I like to give like the benefit of the doubt, but holy fucking Nora, this was just bad. And you kept moaning, watch it, and I can't. I'm going to expire in a minute if you make me watch another minute.
Well, let's try and be constructive.
For my sanity, I prevail. And then we did say there's another episode of this, and I was like,
yeah, I know.
Dear.
We get on to the second episode. Actually, you know what?
What?
As well, there was when they were stuck. Like they originally they thought the Ferengi was using some superior weapon and they trapped him.
Yep.
And then Picard goes, "Okay, conference time. Let's look at that." You know, this is why my dad will never watch any Next Generation, because he goes like, Captain Kirk is in charge, but Picard, when he gets in trouble, he just goes like, "Oh, let's have a conference
let's all go in my ready room. Let's have a chat for 3 hours.
This was the episode.
Tell me what you would do, and I'll find that best solution."
This is the episode that made my dad never watch any more
Kirk
Next Generation.
Like, this is what we're doing. I don't give a shit who disagrees with me. We're doing it. We're doing it now. Very dramatic music in this episode.
Yep.
Dun dun dun.
Oh, it was back in the day, the 80s.
It absolutely made me laugh. But Geordi, for me, he was almost Jive in this episode, wasn't he? When he was like talking to Riker about the problem solving, and he was almost like, "Yeah, brother, let me give me a high five."
I know, he was doing a lot of jiving.
And then he went back to his seat and he was like, "He's fucking wearing Soul Glow."
I know, because we were watching it on Netflix in HD. We've never seen it in HD, but hey, now Netflix has got all Star Trek on it, and we're watching in HD, and I can't believe how sparkly his hair is.
Sparkly his hair was.
He's definitely so Soul Glow.
When Riker and Picard were in the ready room, we saw like the reflections in the windows, the
really
fingerprints.
smudged.
We're like, you need a window cleaner.
I don't want to watch HD. I want to go back to some dodgy old 80s kind of like standard definition. We liked it when Picard went mad. He should be doing that more often. I know he's probably never going to be in it again, but he should have carried that on, shouldn't he?
At that scene, we did crack up, then we rewound, then we watched it again, then we cracked up, then we rewound it and watched it again, because that was just like, did he say mad?
It's good.
That was very funny.
Data with the finger trap. Do you not think like he's got super strength? He could have just pulled it apart, couldn't he?
Yeah, but also he did start a little bit to get a bit glossy, like he was starting to perspire. Because you would, if you're in a finger trap, you are going to start stressing and get a bit sweaty. An android wouldn't, or a humanoid would not do that.
I just think he could have pulled it apart with his super strength.
And also, like the intelligence that Data's got, he would have picked it up and just gone, nah.
Analysed it,
not fucking going anywhere near that.
It would ruin the joke of it, though.
It would have done. And then what? Geordi's got it on at the end.
Yeah.
Whatever. So, two good points about this episode for me is that it was good to hear the theme tune again, because we've not heard Next Generation theme tune for a long time. We did blast it and it was fun.
Yep.
Riker without a beard, not very good. But me and Ammo do know what's to come with Riker and the beard, so we all know it's coming.
It was good to see Riker, even though he's not got a beard, because you know he's going to have a beard soon.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Because it's nice to see what's underneath sometimes.
Fair enough.
Anyway, glad we never have to do that one again. Peter, please, let's never do this again. Thank you very much. Talk to you later. Bye.
Bye. It's mutiny.
It is mutiny!
No, I see. Why would you make them watch fucking Justice again when we've already fucking done it on the cast anyway?
To be fair, now you know why we didn't start with season 1 in the first place, because we'd have had no listeners at all.
We didn't start with season 1, partly because you'd already done it in your column, and partly because I refused to watch Riker with no beard. Because I can't do the beard anticipation thing. I just look at his chin and think of Texas Pete from Super Ted.
Jive Geordi, you're telling me lies. Yes, so you see, they noticed the plexiglass in the observation room as well. That it does show up a bit on DVD as well as Blu-ray, so it's not a definition thing. It literally, they took the plexiglass out after a while because they realised it made it look crap.
Right. And do you think there should be a ding for sweaty Data?
Yeah, arguably, but yeah. It's very hard not to get your actor to sweat when he really is a human being, isn't it?
Yeah, okay. But should he have been able to pull it apart with his super strength?
Oh, I don't know how strong those things are, but presumably, actually, yeah.
Or even better, just analysed it and sorted it out for himself.
The whole thing, I like the fact that Picard, meets with his senior officers in the observation room to come to his decision, because he's pooling his resources, he's making the most of, the different opinions he's got available to him. And to be fair, Kirk does it as well, except he only does it with McCoy and Spock.
Dr. McCoy, Mr. Scott, you heard it?
But he does do it, and of course, what happens then is you've got McCoy and Spock arguing, and Kirk goes, right, fine, I'll do the most sensible thing out of the two then.
The thing is, I think Picard has a better leadership style, because he's not relying on himself, he's asking for their ideas. But I think Kirk's leadership style makes a better telly.
Yeah, arguably, yes. Okay, right, let's move on then to our next
Another
episode.
One.
Yeah,
bollocks.
Another one. Oh, yes.
I'm going to need more beer.
Next time on Star Trek The Next Generation.
Captain, we're passing Warp 5.
A warp speed malfunction hurls the Enterprise to the far reaches of space.
Data, what distance have we traveled? 2,700,000 light years, sir.
To a galaxy where the crew's thoughts...
This can't be. You've been...
Dead.
...become reality. It's a spellbinding journey where none have gone before on the next exciting episode of Star Trek The Next Generation.
Where no one has gone before. I don't know where they got that title from. The Enterprise rendezvouses with the USS Fearless, a.k.a. the USS stock footage, because, yes, it's that Excelsior footage again, in order to bring aboard Engineer Kaczynski of indeterminate rank. He's got the world's strangest rank pin. It's a weird sort of square thing, and it's never explained where he fits in the chain of command. And he doesn't have a communicator either, which makes him look very odd. His assistant, we also meet, is the Traveller, a.k.a., as our son called him, Pajama Man.
Pajama Man.
Yeah.
Do.
Yes. Of course, played by Eric Minyuk, who was originally auditioned for the role of Data. An inhabitant of distant Tau Alpha C. He has 3 unfeasibly thick fingers, which really must hinder typing commands into the computer. And he is indeed dressed in pyjamas for no good reason. Suspicious Riker is suspicious, as the work proposed on the engines makes no sense. And he brings Troy with him to try and scope the visitors out, which is sensible. And again, making good use of Troy. Excellent. Yeah. Chief Engineer Argyle. Ooh, Scottish engineer. Wonder where they came up with that idea. He only manages 2 episodes, but it's more than most of the chief engineers in the first season. And he's described by Riker introduced as being one of our chief engineers, so clearly they have a lot of them for some bizarre reason.
The whole point of a chief engineer is that they're the chief engineer.
It rather would... You'd think that with the title, wouldn't you? But there you go.
Oh, well.
It's all very sus, as Troy can pick up nothing from the Traveller, so that's 2 species in as many episodes. Is everyone immune to betazoids? But there we go. That's our teaser. The obnoxious Kaczynski heads for engineering, where Wes is doing a school project in a horrible orange jumper with brown cords. The pain!
It's just... it's vomit orange.
It's
It's sort of, is it orange or is it peach? I mean, it's horrible. It's insipid. And the pattern's terrible, and it looks like it should be a shawl and it's a jumper, and it's just every kind of wrong. It's the most wrong jumper.
I mean, it makes Jake's bus seat costumes look far better and normal in comparison, doesn't it?
I know, it's just, it's terrible.
Riker gets the expert to explain what he wants to do. Precocious Wesley shows the Traveller how to do his job using a weird graphic showing the warp pattern or summit. Then something goes awry when they try out the engines with the new formula, and the Traveller has to phase out in order to sort things. Even so, they pass Warp 10 before Picard gets them out of their predicament by sticking the ship in reverse gear, which sounds a bit drastic, but there we go.
Yeah, they don't have reverse in Attack Wing.
No, some ships do.
Yeah,
it's
but
stop
the
that they
Enterprise
don't
doesn't.
have. Galaxy class does, I think.
Does it?
Yes.
Okay.
But you can't stop, which is a bit weird. But anyway, that's an Attack Wing thing, not a first season Next Gen thing. They end up many galaxies away. It would take them over 300 years to get home. This reminds me of something.
Oh my God!
Voyager! And that's never a good thing, is it?
No.
Some pretty visuals, though, on the way are someone, ooh! The crew have to weigh up the opportunities for exploration against wanting to get back home, and Picard sensibly suggests they return and let a pure science vessel do the work later on.
Yeah.
Wes tries to tell Riker that it's the Traveller behind their speed, but Silly Pants ignores him until he sees the alien phase out again during their attempt to return, now at ludicrous speed.
We're gonna have to go right to ludicrous speed. Ludicrous speed? Sir, we've never gone that fast before. I don't know if the ship can take it. What's the matter, Colonel Sanders? Chicken?
They end up somewhere even weirder, a billion light years from home. Worf's pet Targ appears, played by a wild boar called Emmy Lou. It's a nice effect.
I like
quite
the
cool.
Targ.
Yeah, it's good. Yar gets a kitty cat, and we see a flashback into her past, being hunted by the rape gangs. Picard opens a turbo lift door into nothingness, which is a cool visual. Another crewman ends up playing in a string quartet, others are chased by invisible enemies, and another still is being a ballerina in a cargo bay. As you do.
Yes.
Then Picard bumps into his long-dead mother in the corridor.
And has a cup of tea.
Has a cup of tea with a very hello sounding actor. The captain calls Red Alert, pointing out there's somewhere where thoughts become reality. Uh-oh, better knock Riker out, I think, because otherwise they're in real trouble.
And Geordi.
Yes, for that matter. The Traveller is unconscious in sickbay, apparently dying and potentially trapping them far from home. So there's some real jeopardy in this one, at least. Under protest, Crusher awakens him, and he tells him he likes to just travel. He uses the power of thought to travel great distances. Alone with Picard, he tells him Wesley is a special snowflake, and tells the captain to tell no one, especially not Wesley's mother, which is odd, because by Journey's End in the 7th season, Beverly knows all about this, so Picard obviously blabbed at some point. Perhaps she got him drunk and pumped him for information. Anyway, as the captain...
as long as she didn't pump him for anything else.
As the captain tells everyone to focus their thoughts on the Traveller to help them get back in one place, he may as well have told them to go, there's no place like home, there's no place like home. We see a male crewman wearing a scant for what may be the last time.
It's the Scant Man!
I'm a scat man. Ow.
The Scant Man.
No, that's never becoming a thing.
No.
Ouch.
No.
The Traveller struggles and finally disappears, but they have returned to where they started from. Picard calls Wesley to the bridge, and this is where the entire episode goes down the plug hole, and gives him his acting ensign rank. Yay! Because he deserved it with that orange jumper or something, having spotted the Traveller phasing out. Ooh. There we go, I covered that pretty quickly, didn't I? Based on one of writer Deanna Duane's own original series Trek novels, which I think I read back in the day, The Wounded Sky, it's rather wanky, setting Wes up as the special one, which pays off, of course, right at the end of the series in an equally unsatisfying fashion. How do the other ships still have improved warp engines without the Traveller on board to phase in and out to get them to go faster? Never explained. Except you could argue that, as Riker does, that perhaps because those were older ships, that they just ironed out some of the kinks that had come up over time. But then Wilde sends the Enterprise a brand new ship. I remembered originally preferring this one to The Last Outpost. I possibly even did when I did it for my Blessed of the Geek column. But now I've definitely gone the other way around and I prefer The Last Outpost. This was hard work.
Yeah.
Yuck. Yuckity yuck yuck yuck. The jumper not helping, but it just seems very slow paced. If they needed some sort of a B plot to keep your interest, I think. Because as it stood, it was pretty turgid.
Fetid jizz tissue.
Yeah, she didn't like it either. What a surprise.
And Doreen writes, where no one has gone before, the USS Ajax, does it leave things sparkling clean in its wake? Shiny. Can we please reverse engines back to Deep Space Nine? Yes, another one on my side. Thank you very much. So you won't want to be doing episodes of season 1 we've already fucking done, will you? Thank you very much, Doreen. And she says, but definitely not back to the start of this series. Thank you. Yes, for the win.
No, we're not going back to the start of this one.
No, but no, you're just... Oh, no. Not justice.
There's no justice.
No, we did it justice. Well, no, I didn't, because justice would have just been a fart.
Oh dear, I do fear I'm losing this argument.
I don't understand why you're making it.
Literally,
you don't like the episode.
You listen back to our pilot, and
it contains more words than I would do now.
Oh. Okay. If that's what people think, I will accept their opinion. However wrong it might be.
It's not wrong, it's right. You've already bloody done it.
Carry on.
Sorry, Doreen. I'll carry on with your feedback now. She says, oh no, when the Traveller takes them so far away and is then too exhausted to get them back, I thought, it's turning into Voyager. Yep, we thought the same. Captain Picard isn't really acting like the character I grew to love. First he forbids the Traveller to die, not something many beings have control over.
You know what he reminded me of in that, interestingly? Archer. Because it's a couple of occasions now, Archer's been all rather... he threatened to space that one guy, and in the last episode we watched, he kept reviving this guy who was clearly dying. Yeah. So it was like, that's interesting. Parallels.
She says also, apparently curiosity isn't an answer. That's a good point. It should be. Mm-hmm. For Starfleet, curiosity should be an answer, shouldn't it? Mm-hmm. Because what the Traveller's doing is seeking out new worlds and new civilizations, isn't he?
Mm-hmm.
So, yep, you're right, Doreen. The Traveller's thoughts about thought is the basis of all reality were relatively interesting and reminded me why I used to like his character. Mind you, now that I know/remember Wesley Boy Genius is all the Traveller's fault, the rosiness of the tint is definitely coming off. Yeah. I wonder if Captain Picard was leading a prayer meeting or a guided meditation when he was instructing the crew how they could help the Enterprise get home. Oh, but look, through the magic of TV or makeup, the Traveller looks so much better due to the ship-wide good wishes. Many thanks, Doreen. Thank you, Doreen. Excellent feedback. And you agree with me.
Okay, the Argyle Smurf wasn't too impressed by this either. Where no one has gone before is the one where they realise that only a handful of episodes in that they need to crib the original series titles and explore new galaxies, because this one is a bit dull, before deciding to press on with 6 more seasons anyway, whilst giving fandom the idea of being fingered by one of the Traveller's beauties. Lovely. Much love from the Smurf. Clearly not that much love for the first season, though.
Don't blame you. I'm guessing he'll be with me.
I suspect so. And...
The Mark?
The Mark. Over on the Geek Planet Online forums. Oh no, I've just seen how it started.
And the Mark writes, where no one has gone before. Or, wait, stop. Should they not become lizards and fuck?
No.
Not fresh old.
Fresh old. Ah.
Thought is the basis of all reality. Season 1 of Next Gen really was trying to explore all the intricacies of human reality. For the first time in Star Trek Next Gen, we have a genuine sense of awe and wonder, where space no longer resembles a black star field, but instead a colourful visage of the strange and unknown.
This is true. It does look pretty.
Yeah, it does look pretty, yes. The acceleration of the Enterprise beyond what was dreamed possible turns out to be the basis for a pretty good premise centering on the mystery of the System, known only as the Traveller, whose alien gifts have allowed the crew of the Enterprise to travel quite literally where no one's gone before. This episode is notable for at first seeming fresh and intriguing, but this feeling fades once it's become clear that this place, whatever it is, has the ability to turn thoughts into reality. The episode has too many hallucination gags that become real threats, and all of it's based on more fantasy than hard sci-fi. When anything can happen, the best the writers can come up with are dead parents, Klingon pets, and flames.
And ballerinas,
Yeah, and the dead parent wants a cup of tea and all.
And somebody wants to play in the string quartet.
It's bad. It's bad. He says, the Traveller starts an intriguing dialogue with Picard about the nature of exploration, but it goes on so long to make itself impenetrable. This episode had so much potential, but 99% of it went unrealised. Ultimately, the writers took the most disappointing of all possible paths. Why was Picard, the great explorer, wanting to get back from wherever they'd got to so quickly? I think the whole episode was to show off Wesley's genius again, although I could tolerate it more this time. Mainly, I think I've come to like Will Wheaton over the years. Age changes how I view this story. As a child, I loved it. As a teenager, I was very snooty about it. Now, as a 30-something, where no one has gone before, it's kind of charming, even in its failings.
Oh, wow, somebody who liked it. There we are. Gosh. Right. So that brings us on to the MP3. And interestingly, we've had some MP3 from Shane, who we've not heard from for a while.
Ooh.
Here's what he's got to say.
Hello all, this is Shane here. It's been a long time since I've left any audio feedback. I hope you both are well. This is my feedback for when no one has gone before. Overall, yeah, a really enjoyable episode. By far and away the best episode of Season 1 thus far. Even though saying that, we've had episodes like The Naked Now and Code of Honor. Watching paint dry would actually be better than watching a Code of Honor. And of course, watching paint dry, you don't get the added racism. But yeah, onto the episode. As I said, it was a really good episode. A few problems with it, to be honest with you. I mean, the sense of, you don't get a sense of jeopardy, because obviously it's so far into the season. They wouldn't do that they wouldn't fling the ship into space until you get to Voyager, but we won't talk about Voyager on this podcast. Also, the Traveller and Wesley dynamic, that's a little bit creepy. How quickly the Traveller attaches himself to Wesley. Looking back from now, even though they do try to explain that later on, with the fact that Traveller sees something in Wesley. But yeah, also, and it's also good to see the Wesley storyline moving forward, and the fact he's now an acting ensign, even though you do have to feel sorry for those people who are on board ship, as non-commissioned officers. Now we've got this teenager who has power over them. And also, positive thoughts can get us through this. Give us positive thoughts. We can get this done. But yeah. And we've also got the season 1 problem of, a ton of chief engineers. This is the second chief engineer that we've seen. But saying that, what I said, it doesn't have the racism that the Code of Honor does. It doesn't have the boring story that the Naked Now happens. But now I'm going to go to a little segment of my feedback called "Let's Get Anal About Wars." So yes, this is the last time until Generations that we actually see the main corridor set go into engineering. If you have the walk wall in front of you, the corridor set is to the left. They usually plug it with a wall right there, but for the opening scenes in this episode, you can actually see the corridor set behind in the background. However, in about 2 minutes later, in the same scene, it's plugged up. We won't sort out that problem until we hit Voyager and they edit an extra bit of corridor into the main engineering. My goodness, that's actually twice now I've referenced Voyager in this one feedback. I should really stop. But yeah, great show as always. I really do love listening to it every Monday afternoon. So keep up the great work. But before I go, Peter, you mentioned on the last show that you hate musicals. So I've only got one question for you, and that is, are you
just a sweet transvestite from transsexual Transylvania?
You can go off, people, And what with that and trying to out-anal me? Really?
Anal about walls? Bloody hell. Is that going to be a fucking Space Dock mini-sode? Walls?
I don't think so. Yeah, although it did at least have a decent theme tune, so almost makes up for the it's Rocky Horror. But there we go. This episode's proving rather more popular with people so far, interestingly.
Yeah, I'm not a fan.
But
you're right, it's not racist.
It's better than Code of Honor, but then again, so's a smack in the face. I mean,
so are my turds.
Thank you. Right. Drew and Tracy. Let's see if they're slightly less broken from this one. Drew might like this one. It's a sort of sciencey thing. You never know.
Yep, so just finished watching an episode. So as soon as Kaczynski got on board, I was just like, hold on a minute. He's a bit suspicious here because he's not got a comm badge on and he's also got the zipper at the front.
So how was he wearing like a Starfleet uniform then?
Well, he's in Starfleet, but why no comm badge?
Why though?
I don't know. And when they sent Troy to the transporter room as well, and she was like, oh, he's a bit self-centred and he's very full of himself and arrogant. I was like, yeah.
There's nothing...
Do we really need an empath to
yeah, but that is not... She's not picking that up through being a betazoid. She's picking that up from being a fucking woman at the end of the day.
Yes, exactly. It's just like... You don't need to be able to read a mind really to get that. Why is it all weird like that? I mean, let's not get too sciencey. Because... Why, just because there's somewhere else in the universe, the laws of physics should be the same, so why is it all gone all weird?
Well, exactly.
And there's all that blue stuff.
Yeah,
and
why
all
do they look like they're in inner space all of a sudden with like white cells flying all around them?
I don't know.
Why are they all like... Again, it's a bit like Nightmare on Elm Street because they're in like their dreams and their weirdness. Why does Worf and Yar see like their pets? Although what the fuck pet Worf had when he was a kid?
It's a tard.
No idea.
No.
And then Picard sees his mum, and I'm waiting for Riker's vision because you know it's going to be some hot, saucy, naked woman, isn't you? You know, but it never materialised. Wesley's salmon heavy knit sweater.
Oh goodness me!
Is just evil.
I think that might be the worst thing he's ever worn.
Why? why do they?
No, just leave it there. Just
I can't even question it. It's all kinds of wrong. So when Mr. Kaczynski, what an arrogant fucking arsehole he is, right? When he pushed past Riker, when they were doing their first jump, weren't they?
Yes.
And he kind of like pushed Riker out the way, and Riker just like eviled him. I was just like, twat the fucker. Just give him a left hook. Do not take that shit from him. That's just, he was getting on my tits. So again, Wesley knows what happened.
Yeah.
He tries to tell Riker.
Wesley's always going to be like, the...
buzz off, kid. Buzz off, boy.
Although they was very condescending, all keep calling
they
him
did
boy,
keep
weren't
calling
they?
him boy, didn't they?
I was meant to be the 24th century. They're meant to be more involved.
But then I wondered if that was kind of building up to the end where they actually give him respect and they make him the acting ensign and stuff like that. So I think it's just a bit of a ploy, isn't it?
Could be.
So Beverly.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
What the fuck is going on with her?
You know what? I know this is the 80s, but she looked like a coke fiend.
She did. She
was really
pasty,
thin and pale.
She was thin.
Sweaty.
Maybe it's because we was watching it in HD, but her hair was all kinds of wrong coloured. She looked like on edge, you know what I mean? She had like a bit of a goggly eyeballs going on.
She looked bad, didn't she?
It's just, and she had a bit of a wet look perm going on.
I know.
From 1982.
Goodness, she did not look good.
Not the bed that we know.
The Traveller was dressed in pyjamas, wasn't he?
He looked like Beetlejuice when I first saw him. It was that striped Beetlejuice. It was like either a prisoner outfit or Beetlejuice.
Perhaps I haven't got clothes where he goes, and the first time he beamed in was like in someone's bedroom, and he's like, that's what everyone's wearing. So he's going to wear pyjamas.
And didn't he look like he'd taken a bit of a crack on the noggin? Right in the front, he looked like he had a big bump. Bang!
There's something up right there.
Yeah, and he had flippers. What? I don't understand the flipper bits.
I don't know. I'm not going to go back to wiping the bum, but, let's just say he must struggle.
Well, he definitely looked like he needed his cuticles done. That's what I picked up on those fingernails. I've never seen this one before, and you did kind of stop it and give me a
I gave you the clued up. About
season 7 and stuff
7.
like that.
Yeah.
For me, in the words of Picard, this was a bit El Formaggio, especially the ending. It was
it's well cheese-tastic at the end when he acted.
I wanted Wesley to almost grab a pair of balls and go, listen here, son, you've been calling me boy. Fuck it, acting ensign. I'm going to go and work for my mother.
Yeah, I think this kind of episode, it's one that you need to watch, I guess, to get the story of it, but yeah.
No, there is no yeah in it. Never again.
Okay, fair enough.
I don't think we watched it the first time. Well, you might have done, but I certainly didn't.
Yeah.
It's just rubbish.
Okay, all finished there then.
Leave it there. Lovely. Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you, guys.
There is no yeah.
Sweater of evil.
Yeah.
Beverly Coke Fiend. Beverly Coke Fiend Crusher.
Oh, man.
Kaczynski's got no com badge, and as I say, that's weird enough, but the weird rank pin he's sporting as well, it's very odd.
Yeah, it's just all a pile of wank.
Okay, well, let's finish with the wisdom of Puri.
Hello again, Puri here to talk about Where No One Has Gone Before. This is actually one of the TNG episodes I remember the most from seeing it first time round. I think it was that was the first time I realised that the kind of pulsy thing in the warp core gets faster when the ship gets faster, apparently, and also kind of the general weirdness of zooming through the universe. In truth, the plot's kind of insubstantial. I mean, basically, they get an absolute arse on the ship who claims he can make engines go faster, and it turns out to be this other weird bloke called the Traveller who actually makes it all work. And they get slung to a galaxy far, far away. Fortunately, not so long time ago. Otherwise, a whole load of fan arguments might have been settled in one fell swoop. For the record, the Enterprise would win. Then they get zapped even further into a weird realm where things you imagine might become reality, and Picard sees his mum, and people are ballet dancing in cargo bays and playing a very, very long extended scene of playing violin for no reason whatsoever. And Worf sees his pet Targ, and Tasha Yar has a flashback to her colony. I think the idea almost looked like they could have used that dimension if they'd wanted to make this a pilot or like a second or third episode. They could have used, in fact it is, I think this is the fourth episode, so you could have almost used this to give a little background in each of the crew by having them each flash somewhere, except probably for Data, because he's technically not got an imagination, or does he? We don't know. And that would have been kind of an interesting take on it if everyone had something beyond Worf seeing his pet Targ from when he was a boy, and that wee flashback of Yar and Picard meeting his mum. And I have to get out of that universe because otherwise things are going to go horribly, horribly wrong. Although they never did say if the illusions could kill them. I assume they could. I think that was just taken as read, or maybe I just didn't pay attention enough. The Traveller himself's not bad. I did like the idea that they did try to make it look a bit technical, but he's got mysterious powers. And I did like the way they made the Kaminsky, was it? The sort of scientist who came in, a real idiot, and he was virtually spouting management speak. He basically sounded like a homeopath, but with warp engines. So he was doing homeopathic warp stuff. That's what he was up to. Again, the crew don't really do much. They kind of just zap to one end of the universe, zap to the other. Everything's a bit weird. And then everyone thinks there's no place like home. Troy says it feels lovely, and they all zap back to the Federation space, and the Traveller disappears up until he reappears sometime later. Does he appear in any other episodes apart from that Wesley one? I can't remember. But, overall this one, I didn't actually enjoy it as much as The Last Outpost. I just think it was it just didn't seem like there was much to it. It just seemed like zap to one end of the universe, faff. Zap to the other end of the universe, faff. Home. Hey, right, well, Captain's log. Why did you do a Captain's log, time has no meaning? A, how's that going to fit in the log reporter? Is there just going to be one with, Stardate 847.2, Stardate 848.3, time has no meaning? I'm assuming the clocks still work in the Enterprise. But that's a minor nitpick really there. So overall, again, you can still see a lot of the rough edges. At the end of it, he basically says, Wesley, I don't want to see you in these horrific jumpers anymore. You can be a acting ensign or something if you promise never ever to wear those jumpers. That's how I heard it anyway. And so they get that it's not a great episode. It's not awful. I didn't resent watching it. I just think I could have been doing something better. So it's not like the last two we had, which were really, really awful, and I was really glad to get back to Deep Space Nine. Although I will still be really glad to get back to Deep Space Nine. So all that remains for me to say is do keep up the good work. It's always a very good podcast, and I always look forward to the next episode. Even when you make us watch Season 1 Next Generation, Riker's chin is wrong. It's a wrong thing, and he needs to cover it up with hair. But until then, I'll hopefully be back next time. Until then, bye for now.
Bye, sir. Thank you. Yeah, what do the crew do? That's a very good point. Are they just, it's all mostly out of their hands. You see all the engineering extras just sort of wandering around, looking blankly at one another because it's completely out of their hands. Bizarre. Good theory as to why Wesley's made an acting ensign, though, just to get him out of those damn jumpers. But I think he gets the rainbow jumper for the rest of this season.
It's better than that one, though.
Which is better than this one, but still not great.
No. And I love the idea of the captain's log, time has no meaning, where do you put it? Yes.
Obviously they obviously fall sequentially, but in as much as he can't give a time date to it, because the star date thing, we have no idea how that really works, but obviously it's, because time is relative when you're travelling, it's a bit wanky, so yes, you can't do ship's time, clearly. Yeah. Bizarre, but entry number 1, entry number 2 would work a lot better, I can't help feeling. Hey ho.
And Riker's chin is wrong.
There we go. So yes, back to Deep Space Nine, as he said.
Phew!
Thank you to everybody who braved the episodes this time.
Are you going to thank me?
For what?
Braving those episodes.
But hey, it's still good. It's still Trek. It's not Voyager. It's still better than Voyager.
Saying it's still Trek doesn't work.
All right then, still not Voyager.
I'm not sure that works either.
Well, if nothing else, it's an interesting glimpse into how the characters started less than fully formed, shall we say. Particularly Geordi is the big revelation from these ones, isn't he? Jive Geordi.
So let's go back and watch how the characters were crap before they'd worked them out. Or let's not and watch them from when they were good. Duh.
No, but it's an interesting exercise.
No, it isn't.
Let's not worry about this because we're moving on to Deep Space Nine, all right?
Good.
Which is well underway, full sail, maximum warp.
Yeah, thing.
Broadcast 8.10. Recording 4th of August, folks. It's a Thursday. Woo, again. And we shall be looking at Through the Looking Glass, which is a return to the mirror universe.
Oh, joys.
Yeah. It's not a strong one as far as I remember either. Sorry.
I don't like mirror universes anyway.
No, but I enjoyed the last one. I'm not sure I enjoyed this one, but we shall see. And Improbable Cause, which is kind of part one of a two-parter, unfortunately, but involves an escalation, shall we say, of the Dominion War, which is good news.
Okay. Well, it's not good news for the people on Deep Space Nine.
No, but in terms of excitement and actually, oh yes, we have this thing called Dominion. So that's good stuff. And it has a returning character in it, or at least one anyway, yes. So yes, definitely something to look forward to with that second episode that I get to cover. Woohoo! Right, do you want to do a plug?
Yes, I wanted to do a plug for The Edge of Forever, which is podcast by Earth2.net. They recently covered the whole Axonar lawsuit thing in a really informative, balanced way. So if you're up for, finding out information about Axonar, the background, why various people have said what they have and they haven't and whatever, it's really well worth a listen.
Jolly good. And I shall do a little plug for, completely selfishly, for Space Duck Jury, on the basis that I'm on it. We're recording loads, basically, because we're away between the three of us for quite a bit of August, so I can't tell you what the next episode will be, but we've got various rather juicy ones in the bank, and we will indeed be covering a pubcast special on Star Trek Beyond. But, I mean, it has to be said that there have been an awful lot of good reviews for that film already, so who knows? Maybe I should be pleasantly surprised. I'm going in with a relatively open mind, he says, gritting his teeth. Especially, it can't be bad as that bloody Rihanna music video anyway. I think that was their way of preparing us for it. Still, splendid stuff. Thank you again to all our contributors this time.
You.
And we shall catch you next time. Cheerio, bye.
Bye.
Come on, everybody, it's Gibbon time! We're the goodies, how you do? We've just been down to the zoo. We saw a monkey in a cage, doing a dance that could be the rage. It's not hard, so let's all do the funky Gibbon. Woo, woo, woo.
The bOrgCast is brought to you by the lovely people at geekplanetonline.com.
Music at the beginning of this podcast was written and performed by Adam Buxton and is used with his kind permission. All music referenced is for illustrative purposes only and no copyright infringement is intended.
To contact us, you can use the forums at geekplanetonline.com.
Visit our Tumblr site at bOrgCast.tumblr.com, where you'll find images accompanying the episodes discussed in this cast.
Send email messages or MP3s to bOrgCast at geekplanetonline.com.
Or you can contact us via Twitter on rev_org or bOrgCastAmmo. Hashtag bOrgCast.
The funky Gibbon. Just like you, so come on and do the funky Gibbon now. The funky Gibbon. The funky Gibbon. Gee, the world would be good. I know how nice it could be with just a little give or take. Be just like that Gibbon. Oh, and feel the rhythm. And a little groove and dance up to Planet of the Apes. Do the funky Gibbon.
Shut it down!